Hello there students, welcome back to yet another lecture talking about interviews. This is your instructor Dhruvi Bhatt. In the previous video, I told you about some of the points which may lead to failure in interviews. Also, we talked about some tips for facing that job interviews. Today I would be talking about the dreaded interview process. If you remember, I told you in the first video of interviews that stages of interview and process of interview are two different things. Here I will be specifically talking about the interview process. What are different steps which you are going to face? The first step is establishing a rapport. Many of the employers tend to make a decision whether or not to hire a person in first 30 seconds. Yes, that lesser time in first 30 seconds. So make sure that you rock that 30 seconds. Only then you stand a chance to go on to the next round or to be hired. Okay. Now, what should we do in those first 30 seconds? Make sure you come out as a very positive and a can-do employee. Establish a rapport. Establish a very good impression, a very good first impression on the interviewer. If you have got a very gelled out impression with the interviewer, even if you do not do 2 or 3 technical questions, it would be totally okay. You would rock. Go out there with a confident attitude, dressed up very nicely, with well kept hair, with cut nails, with proper facial expressions, with trimmed beard, and if you are a girl, obviously, go out there in very formal clothes, not in formal clothes. Go out there and firstly enter the room by asking for the permission. Ask for the permission for sitting down in the interview chair. Shake the hand of your interviewer firmly, confidently, and sit only when you are told to do so. After you sit, thank them for providing you the seat, for letting you sit there. Thank them for this opportunity of interview. Okay. After that, you can start with the interview. During the interview, use words like thank you. Use polite expressions like pardon me, excuse me, etc. Moving forward, the next step is gathering information. Here is where the interviewer will ask questions thinking about getting the answers he or she wants. Okay, here they will try to gather different informations about your past experiences, about your education qualification, about your past job maybe, and many different things. While answering to these questions, keep in mind some of the things which I already told you and some of the things which I am going to tell you. Make sure that you back up each of your sentence with an example. Make sure that you provide very correct information, because otherwise it may lead to failure. The third step would be closing. You would have got the pace, you would have got an idea that how the interview went until now. After you have established your rapport, you have gone through the question answer round, you will be getting to know that how your interview went, but still give it a proper closing. Ask the interviewer what next. Ask the interviewer that did you do well in the interview? Close the interview on a positive note. Thank them for the opportunity again and tell them that it will be a pleasure if you are hired to work with them. Last but not the least, in each of these steps, make sure that you use your body language very effectively. Proper gestures, proper postures, proper eye contact, proper facial expressions. Make sure that your non-verbal cues to go in sync with your verbal cues. It would be of no use if you look very underconfident, pale and nervous, and you tell the interviewer that okay, I am very confident about getting this job, it would be of no use if your verbal and non-verbal cues do not match. So, make sure your body language speaks for you effectively. Moving forward, let us see that what are the types of questions which you can expect in an interview. The first type of questions are open-ended questions. Open-ended questions are the questions which can be elaborated by the interviewee according to his or her wish. Like for example, the interviewer may ask you that what type of manager were you in the previous job? Or questions like, what did you understand from different subjects taught in your curriculum? The second type of questions, which are exactly opposite to this, are close-ended questions. These are simple yes or no questions and keep them that. Do not go for an elaborated explanation until asked to do so in a close-ended question. Do you think you are a good manager? Just a yes or a no. Only if you are told to do so, elaborate or justify your answer. Close-ended questions are the questions which have fixed answers where you cannot go into long. The second type of questions which can be asked are behavioral questions. Behavioral questions are about your behavior. Like, in a given particular situation, how would you react? What decision would you make? If we send you abroad for a particular project, would you take up the opportunity? These are behavioral questions. One more type of questions are tough questions. Look out for these ones. These are the questions which do not have any definite answers and they want to check your confidence and your smartness by asking you such questions. The question can be, why should we hire you and not others? If you were sitting on my place, would you hire yourself? These are the tough questions which do not have any definite answers. Just go for it. Okay, the next type of questions are experience questions. These are about your past experiences, your past job or your academic credentials, how well you performed in a particular subject, or if you have done some course, then what was the course about, etc. This is totally about your past experience. The next type of questions are credential questions. These are the questions about your credentials. Were you ever awarded Employee of the Week or Employee of the Year in your past organization? What was your CGPA while you were in your engineering? These are credential questions. How much credit do you have in particular in your work? Next type of questions are opinion questions. Here they want to know your opinion for a particular case. They might give you a case study. They might give you a simple situation like, do you think that COVID vaccine might solve the problem for all of us? Totally open-ended question and totally the question where they want to check your decision-making skills and your skills or your opinion about certain things. Okay, the next type of questions are questions that require very creative answers or innovative answers. These are the questions where again they want to check your confidence and how aptly you can answer to any question given to you. If you are an animal, which animal would you like to be? These are the types of questions which require an innovative answer. Think before you answer them. Okay ma'am, so much about questions. Teach us some answering techniques too. That is what I am going to do next. I will be talking about the answering techniques, how you can answer to those dreaded questions. The first technique for answering is behavioral answering technique. Here, instead of talking about what you will do in a particular situation, talk about how did you handle such type of situation previously in your previous job or while you were handling a project in your college. Give examples from your past behavior. It would create a better credit for you in eyes of the interviewer because you would get a real life example. You would get a portrayals of your behavior before hiring you. So you will him how you behaved in particular situation. For example, if the question is that what will you do if the sales decrease? You can answer as such. Once I had faced the scenario in my previous job. The sales decreased and kept on decreasing over a period of time. I went through different marketing strategies and tried to talk with different people in marketing department as well as in finance department, and I tried to figure out what exactly the problem is. And also I figured out the problem and you can go on. That would create a good answer. The next technique is compelling storytelling technique. Make sure that when you give out some answers, create a background story full of enthusiasm. Tell it with flair. Tell it by mentioning all the points which are important. Tell it in a proper flow, just like you have articulated an entire thing. Practicing your interview before the actual interview would help you in this compelling storytelling technique. Mention it in form of a story which keeps the interviewer engaged. Also, do not bore him for a very long amount of time. It is not a monologue, but try to make things very interesting and fire them up. Moving forward, you can use personality matching technique while you are sitting there for the interview. Personality matching means everyone likes the person who has similar personality as they themselves. Try to mirror the personality of the interviewer. You will go a long way. If he keeps his tone very low, try to answer in a low tone. If he is using minimalist gestures, you to use less gestures. If he talks very enthusiastically, answer him enthusiastically. Try to mirror him, and it will lead to a type of bond or a subtle connection between both of you, which will help you obviously. Moving forward, the next technique which you might use is parroting technique. Parroting technique means it is a very good practice that if you didn't understand the interviewer, repeat the question in your own tone or your own words, so that you both will be on the same ground. You both must be knowing that what you are answering. Otherwise, it would lead to equivocation, and we do not want that. Use parroting technique to make sure that you and interviewer both are aware of what you are talking, and you are answering exactly the question which is asked by the interviewer. It would help you in getting into the same ground and giving out the answers which they require. One more thing which you can use while answering to that question is reframing technique. Okay, here too you can use a slight side-turned way where you can reframe the question and answer it, but do it smartly, intellectually. I'll show you how. If the interviewer just out of the blue asks you, who was your favorite professor? Anyone is your favorite? Okay, but you need to answer this. Answer this like, okay, Miss XYZ was my favorite professor, and I would love to tell you why she was my favorite professor. She actually inspired me to do these courses, including cloud computing, including IoT, etc., which are beneficial to me and which would be much beneficial to you too if I join the organization. This is the way you can reframe or twist the question, but reframe it before answering it. Okay. Lastly, the technique used for answering is Abraham Lincoln technique. In this technique, you would use the tactic of Abraham Lincoln. If you would have read any books or read history about Abraham Lincoln, you would be knowing that he actually fought the case. Okay, I hope you know who was an advocate. He actually fought the case from both the sides. Before putting up his side, he would talk about the case of his opponent, and he would never say that the opponent is wrong. You will do the same thing while certain questions in the interview. If the interviewer asks you, your CGPA, your grades are very low, why should I hire you? And not Mr. ABC, who has much better grades and much better experience than you. Can you give me one good reason? You will answer it in this way. Sir, it is very nice that ABC secured such good grades and has such great experience. But I think that my practical knowledge and my upper hand on some of the technologies and my innovative ideas might bring much more success to the organization than Mr. ABC's grades, which are passed by the way. Okay, students, that's it from my side. This is Dhruvangal signing off. Until next time, bye bye.